Hello friends. Why was Bengal the most important election for Narendra Modi after 2024? Not Maharashtra, not Bihar, not Delhi, not even Assam. It was West Bengal. Because for the BJP leadership, Bengal was not just a state election, it was a national security emergency. And to understand why, we need to first understand something much bigger, something related to Trump's Cold War with China, the Bangladesh situation, and the chicken neck corridor, to understand the geopolitical battle for India's eastern frontier. By all accounts and purposes, Donald Trump is an American nationalist who wants to reinstate America as the foremost superpower in the global stage, an epithet that has been somewhat diminished in the Obama and the Biden eras of the past. Hence, he wants to take head on some of the major long term challenges that America has faced in the last 4 to 5 decades and solve them, in effect, consolidating his legacy as one of America's greatest modern day presidents. Therefore, many of his actions in this term as the 47th president is based on solving the single most urgent of America's problems, which is China. The biggest threat to America's global hegemony comes from China and its rise in the last 40 to 50 years. From becoming the world's manufacturing base, to debt trapping African countries, to holding US Treasury bonds, to contesting for rare earth minerals, and of course, chip manufacturing. The Chinese have come up against the Americans in multiple sectors. So Trump's singular goal is to ensure that he can set back China's ambitions by a few decades by the time he leaves office in 2029. To that effect, he's attacking China's energy security first by trying to control two of China's biggest oil suppliers in Venezuela and Iran. Now, if India imports 87% of its oil from abroad, then do know this: China also imports over 70% of its domestically consumed oil from abroad. A big part of these imports are from Iran and Venezuela, both of which Trump is now either controlling or trying to control. The fragile Chinese economy will really struggle if oil prices surge and inflation goes up, which will mean an overall decline in China's hypergrowth, which we have seen in the last few decades. As per many geopolitical experts, Trump wanted India's support for his China endeavor, wherein India would be an ally to Trump and make life difficult for China in various sectors, be it in the Indian Ocean or our northern border. Unfortunately for him, Modi did not play along. The Modi doctrine is to be Atmanirbhar, and that extends to our foreign policy too. In Modiji's world, India will only side with India. This means India will only take decisions based on the long-term stability of its internal security and external influence. India will deal with China in its own terms as it did post-Galwan and not just act according to Trump's dictate, notwithstanding the consequences. This means the Americans have to act in some ways to either defeat Modi in elections electorally or take some other desperate measures. One such measure was actually divulged by Sheikh Hasina, the now exiled Prime Minister of Bangladesh, few months before she was forced out. According to news reports, she had told a Bangladeshi newspaper that a white man had offered her unlimited support to rule in Bangladesh if they gave space for an airbase near India's supposed chicken neck. Yes, that small 20 by 60 kilometer strip of land sandwiched between Nepal to the west, Bangladesh to the south, and Bhutan to the north. As per many reports, this so-called white man supposedly wanted to carve out a Christian-dominated country, taking parts of Myanmar, some parts of Bangladesh, and India's northeast, which would then be used to pressurize the Indian mainland. Sheikh Hasina refused, and the request that she refused ended up, as they say, being history, as supposedly, if not for the last-moment intervention by Indian intelligence agencies, she would have met the same fate as her father and was forced to flee her country. This situation is further worsened for India, as our northern neighbor has unlimited resources to destabilize the northeastern states, especially in places like Manipur. Disinformation campaigns on social media, aided by paid internal actors and influencers, and of course some useful idiots, are being used to fuel an insurgency to open an eastern front for India's security forces. This is where the election victories in Anga, Banga, Kalinga, and Tripura come into the question, and why winning Bengal was such a big deal for Modi and Amit Shah. This is the post-poll map of Bangladesh after the February 2026 elections. The green spots that you see are the places where Jamaat-e-Islami Bangladesh, the radical Islamist party in Bangladesh, have won. Yes, as the map shows, Jamaat-e-Islami won in almost all the border areas of Bangladesh. The border, which is porous in many places, and it's shared among 5 Indian states: West Bengal, Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura, and Mizoram. Out of which, our Bengal shares the longest 2,217 kilometer stretch. A state which till few weeks back was being ruled by a party allegedly favorable towards Bangladeshis, and a state government which refused to provide land for border fencing. In fact, it is very widely alleged that much of the Naroda, Sharoda scam money was siphoned to Bangladesh to aid the Jamaat-e-Islami to winning elections in that country. This level of subversion and conspiracy can only happen when the political party in power would have been infiltrated by radical Jamaat elements who are controlling the party leadership via their ground level proxies like Shah Jahan, Jahangir, Aurangzeb, and others. Hence, winning Bengal was not just winning a state election. Winning Bengal was not BJP ruling one more state. Winning Bengal was plugging a major loophole in our national security. A loophole which could have been exploited against India by external forces trying to destabilize India's entire eastern border. The most important step that the central government took to solve this problem with the eastern border was much before the Bengal elections. It was the appointment of Mr. R.N. Ravi as the governor of Bengal and Lieutenant General Said Ata Hasnain as the governor of Bihar. If you talk about Mr. Ravi, then his impressive resume of being an ex-IPS, ex-CBI officer and leading the intelligence bureau in Kashmir, Northeast and the Naxal areas is exactly the kind of experience required in a state with a major border infiltration issue. Remember, he was appointed much before the elections were held in Bengal. Now, for the new BJP government in Bengal and its first-time CM, there are many challenges. And in many ways, the CM lacks experience for a complex topic like border infiltration. This is where the guidance and coordination from Governor Ravi will be a major multiplier, as for sure, he's not just a rubber stamp constitutional requirement, but someone who brings decades of experience on handling such an issue. Plugging the border, detecting radical elements, deporting and dismantling terror networks will be needed to be handled very seriously in the next 5 years. Of course, there will be a backlash from different levels of the existing radical Islamist networks who have had a free run for the last 15 years. Incidents of stone pelting like we have seen in Park Circus, social media engineered protests, and political violence may increase to challenge the state's tolerance levels and reinforce the previous status quo. As for Trump's Cold War with China and his efforts to tame India or corner us, it will be felt for the next few years. On the financial side, we will see instability in the energy markets, pushing up inflation. Pressure on our forex reserves, forcing the government to ask for a pause in gold purchase. Tariff arm twisting of Indian goods, and much more. We will also need to be very careful and not fall for social media engineered unrest fueled by overseas controlled Insta handles. Sudden rise in global celebrity negativity for India and a rise in overall anti-India rhetoric. Winning Bengal was a major milestone to reinforce India's national security. It was an important piece of the puzzle which could no longer be left out of the picture. And maybe the general public of Bengal realized that too. Now, the new BJP government in the state needs to deliver on its promise of a prosperous and economically strong Bengal. They need to work almost 24/7 for the next 5 years to ensure Bengal is integral to the India story, right up to 2047 and beyond. So that's all for today, friends. If you like this video, do like and share and subscribe to support our work and help us create more such content, because you deserve to ask, what about Bengal? See you in the next video.